Has anyone ever called you an Ashawo?
Yeah. Please, is that a question or a statement of fact? If I had a penny for every single time, now me and Dangote for don't open refineries together.
I'm a woman that lives in Nigeria. So, yes.
Yes now. Plenty.
The Urban Dictionary defines Ashawo as a Yoruba word meaning prostitute or someone considered loose or a whore. But language evolves. Over time, the word has shifted from its original meaning and become something more insidious. In Nigeria's deeply patriarchal and misogynistic society, the word Ashawo is no longer just a word. It has become something of a rite of passage that every woman must go through or experience, whether or not they wished. So how does this word affect women in real life? How does it shape their reality and sense of self? To answer these questions, we spoke to women from different backgrounds to share their experiences. We also spoke to experts in related backgrounds to provide us with insights into what drives this phenomenon. The first time a woman is called an Ashawo is almost as significant as the first time she truly comes to terms with her lot in life. For some women, their first experience with the word comes at a considerable time in their life. But for some others, like Betty, it comes even before they are fully formed human beings. Betty was only 8 the first time someone hurled the words.
I remember that incident very clearly because I was 8 years old. I wanted to cross the road to buy a bottle of Coke. That time, Coke was 15 naira kids. I wanted to buy a bottle of Coke, and then some random dude was at the junction, and he told me to come. Now, my dad was a very paranoid father, so it was the first time I was allowed to go out by myself to buy something. So he was standing like in front of our house, and the guy told me, come, come. And I said no. And he said, nah, Ashawo. And I was just like, I'm a child. And I knew what an Ashawo was because Nollywood films and Lepa Shandy was already a thing that had happened. But I think about it a lot, and I think that nigga is crazy too today.
Betty tells us her upbringing and background saw her grow up as a strong-willed child, and so she wasn't overly affected by the name calling. But we wondered what a similar experience would do to a not-so-confident child. We asked someone who knows.
Yes, I mean, there are several factors. Everybody is different, and we all respond to situations in different ways. So yes, I would think their age as well as their experience, but most importantly, I think is also their personality. But you can say that personality is also shaped by experience over the years. For somebody who is resilient and is not moved really by what people say or think about them, that kind of a person, if they were to be called an Ashawo, they probably wouldn't even care. They won't bother about what the other person has to say. But for somebody who is not so assertive or sure of who they are, definitely their own reaction will be different. And for the younger ones, teenagers, because I had, read some research, not around here in Nigeria, but abroad, where young children, between the ages of 12 and 15 that were slut shamed somehow ended up taking their own lives. Because that's the only way, they were overwhelmed or they were eaten up by those words. And that's how they thought to deal with it. So you're definitely right to say age has an influence on the way people choose to react, experience, but most importantly, I would say the personality of the female involved. Yes.
Like Betty, a few of our guests can still recall the first time someone ever slut-shamed them, while others could not because they have been subjected to a barrage of slut-shaming since then, that they can hardly fish out the first time it happened.
Honestly, I can't remember how I felt the first time because it's happened so often. I really can't remember. They've all blurred into like a backdrop, regular experience for me, so I can't recall how I felt.
I felt hot and I wanted to lash out and really deal with that person, right? Because I'm like, why would you call me? Do you know what that name means? It actually means that you're a prostitute, right? And I see myself as I'm not that kind of lady.
I was not interested. I felt disappointed that I live with people like this. Do you get? that I interacted with them, I was abandoning myself, to be honest.
There's this thing my dad used to say whenever we run to him that, my brother called me a bombastic element. You ask you, are you a bombastic element? No. And that was the end of it. So when I first heard the term, somebody called me Ashawo, no. Even if I'm Ashawo, I'm so what? It didn't really do anything to me. It didn't make me angry because I knew it was just an outburst from their own, what will I say, insecurity or low self-esteem to have that to say because they did not get a response from calling me names that I did not want to be called in the first place.
I know that they are calling Ashawo is those people that are sharing money, they are changing money for somewhere in the party. But I don't care for that because why? My name is not Ashawo. But whatever you call a woman Ashawo, that does not mean you are Ashawo, but that does not mean that is my name. I will not feel it as anything because I know they are jealous.
Although, for calling me Ashawo for the first time, I felt so bad and hungry. In fact, I even fought for you calling me Ashawo because I asked that kind of person question that, why will you call me that? Did I sleep with your husband? Or did I sleep with your father? Or your young ones? Why?
Are the disparities between the answers of these women a constant or a one-off? Is there a pattern here? Is there something to learn or fix in the way that different women respond to this? We asked Dr. Wimisola.
Well, I mean, I haven't conducted any research, so I can't categorically say that these are, but just based from watching even TV and social media and all of that, I would still refer back to, the first instance I gave, that women who turn down, male advances. We also have women who, I guess, dress in a way that society terms as sexually provocative. So maybe they are dressed and their body parts are outside, their breasts are exposed, or their dresses are really short and skimpy and things like that. Society generally, I know the kind of society that we're in, I believe in modest dressing, even though there's a lot of hypocrisy and all of that in our society. But I think women who dress exposing body parts usually will get termed as, Ashawo and all that. And maybe the woman who also just generally gets along with guys, would be termed that. And then bringing it to us here in Nigeria, unfortunately, the female contestants of Big Brother Naija, because we hear that a lot, and especially when they're doing well after the show, people want to attribute their wealth to one sugar daddy somewhere and, they are slut shaming them and things like that.
We also set out to find out if it has anything to do with AIDS. The responses from our guests were quite interesting.
And I don't think I've been in that position where somebody overtly called me Ashawo. Now, okay? I think that reference has reduced to me, okay? But it's something I've heard before, but I think now maybe I've not noticed whether it's a bit. I don't think it's.
No, I will say that it's reduced since maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But as I grew up, it's only intensified, especially in my teens, especially when I was wearing my secondary school uniform for some reason. It seems like the younger you look, or the more vulnerable you look, the more excited people are to label you a prostitute, which is funny to me. But
it has continued, especially now. I do think as it gets worse as an adult, because you are outside more often, doing more errands by yourself, you're out for business, you're out and about, and there are men everywhere. So it's very frequent.
I think when I got older, that's when I realized that people were calling me Ashawo frequently. Maybe if I don't reply people when I'm walking on the road, maybe my clothes, they don't like it.
Well, I think it has changed recently because you won't see me outside anymore. But during the time where I was a student, it was more frequent.
Like a lot of things concerning women, slut shaming is hardly about how one carries oneself, but in the same way that society says, "What were you wearing? And why were you there?" to victims of sexual assault, people may ask, "What could you have possibly done to be called an Ashawo?" But like it is with things such as sexual assault, it is never about the receiver of the actions.
Yeah, it has been a constant thing, and I'll say the most prevalent place I have experienced catcalling is in the markets. I can remember one when I was 13. It shook me so much that I don't think I followed my mom to the market for a bit after that.
No, I've never been called that. It was just when I started like posting on Twitter and getting viral and stuff. I just see some person from 50 TLs away just under my post, Ashawo, for no reason.
The establishment of a number of facts around slut shaming led to our next question. What drives this behavior? We asked Dr. Bimisola again.
And I was saying that it does, and more having to do with sexual objectification. And I think probably just frustrations from the part of the male counterpart. And it's also a way of establishing dominance or control on the woman. Really, that's where, and I would say it's still from frustrations, because most times you get women being slut shamed when they turn down the advance of a man. And that's when all of a sudden you just throw out Ashawo because you are pained that you had the guts to turn down your advance and all that.
Some of our guests are not unfamiliar with the driver of this
First
phenomenon.
of all, it's the bit of low self-esteem. But second of all, the behavior is not challenged. People, it's kind of normalized. In UI, for instance, there's this thing boys in the hostels do called Aru, and they actually see it as a compliment when the unemployed young men stand on their balconies and harass whatever young girl is passing through their hostel. And it didn't even start happening when I was an undergrad at UI. It was happening when my school would go to UI to use the stadium, and they would catcall all of us in our little inter-house sports shorts and be saying, "Babes, come here, I have something to give you." It's crazy. It's genuine insanity that has been normalized into our society, which is why I'm not surprised our government.
From the experience I shared with you, number one, if you don't give in to what they want, they tend to call you. They feel as if by using that name, they can in a way depreciate you as a woman. It makes you feel less, especially when, maybe how you're dressed. And if you're not conscious of yourself as a lady, and if you pay attention to that, it can actually affect your self-esteem. So I just believe that when you don't pay attention to, especially men that, in fact, let me use this word, some men that are less enlightened, right? Especially those that call women names anyhow. They actually feel that their ego has been hurt, has been bruised, and they feel that they can use words to attack women. Women, we are very soft, so words tend to affect us in a way. So that is one way they feel that, using Ashawo is one word they can use to hurt us.
Like I said before, is lack of understanding. Their mentality is low. Their IQ is low. They are not exposure.
The reason why they are calling women Ashawo, there's many things. Sometimes, if they look that a woman is not in her husband's house, is living only, they will say this one is Ashawo. You don't have husband, is not in the husband's house. We'll be calling her Ashawo. Meanwhile, when you are staying in husband's house, they see you dressing, going out, they will say this one is not have anything anywhere going. It's going to man's house. Since they did not know where she is going to, everybody will be saying whatever is like.
You may have learned by now from all that our guests have said that slut shaming has nothing to do with actual prostitution or sex work, but is most often used as a tool to bring women down. From powerful women like Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and former U.S. presidential candidate Kamala Harris, every woman who dares to stand tall push past the status quo, express agency, or at the very least exist, is subject to this phenomenon.
I'll be honest with you, if you have the chance to shout at them and insult them back. Oh. You should have your own mouth. You cannot allow people to be insulting and think they have upper hand against you every time.
Ignore. With the benefit of hindsight now, because then I used to react. I'm like, you're angry, I'm a man. Why should you call me that? No. The females around you. But doing what I know now. Call me Ashawo. It just shows me who you are. It just tells me this person is not worth spending time talking to or reacting negative. Just ignore the person. So if you are called Ashawo, you know you are not Ashawo. And calling you Ashawo does not change your beauty, does not devalue who you are. It's just that person verbalizing what is internal to that person. So just ignore. That's my advice.
Immediately call them an Ashawo as well. If they say they have your type at home, say you have their type at home ×2 and you are disappointed. Indeed, works every time. These people have such fragile egos. It's actually almost too easy. It's like taking candy from a baby.
I think women should own it, like when someone calls them Ashawo, because in the end, insult not the key person, and to me, it's not even an insult. The only people that you see men calling Ashawo is people that, they are making it in life, bro. Like, especially when it's unprovoked. When it's unprovoked, just know you're doing something right. If you're a Nigerian man, just Ashawo for no reason.
The first thing is, don't get angry. Because when you get angry, you're giving them power. That's the reaction that they want. They want to see that they have hurt you. That's number one. Number two, you can throw it back at them and say, Ashawo recognize Ashawo. And that one, you have to sit down and think about it because most of them are not thought that far.
Personally, I won't take my own advice, but I would say just ignore it.
Whenever they call them Ashawo, they should not be sad about it. What I just wanted to say, they should just be focused on what they are doing.
Whatever anything said about you, don't care for it. Don't look what they are saying. Move your own forward. Let them to say whatever they want to say. Without talking your matter, you cannot move forward in the house.
So I just want to encourage, women. I know it might not be easy, but not to allow what anybody else says not to get to you. Don't let it get to you. Particularly if that word Ashawo is used on you. It may hit you for a minute, but don't dwell on it for so long. Because at some point, we have something that we call self-fulfilling prophecy in psychology. When you are called a particular thing over a long period of time, be it a positive thing or a negative thing, somehow you begin to internalize that negative word, and in a way you just unconsciously find yourself living that word that has been pronounced on you for the longest. Instead of allowing, that Ashawo word to stay in you or you internalize it, you begin to call yourself what you believe you. Just keep saying those positive words to yourself and keep countering, that Ashawo. And before you know it, even your mind would begin to hold on to more of the positives.
So, what do we do with a word like this? Do we let it define us, or do we redefine it? What are you taking away from this conversation? Who are you deciding to be? The individual who maintains the status quo, or the one who ensures women's safety by actively challenging the status quo?